It's time for another wrestling podcast.
All right. Are you fucking kidding me?
Guys, I got blocked again on Twitter.
I'm your mark of marks.
That's the most reliable source on the interwebs.
The social assassin at your disposal, bitches.
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. I'm Credo, your mark of marks.
And I'm live. And I'm Minority Mike.
And I'm laughing my ass off, and I'm Angry Cooter, the social assassin at your disposal, bitches.
We're live, pal.
We're live.
People don't understand.
We're live.
They don't understand the Wi-Fi struggle. I think it's a conspiracy out there to where they know us, they hear us, they're listening. You know, they're listening through our phones and our or whatever else, or Alexas and fucking anything else. And it's every time we go live, our connection, our internet just happens to go out at the right time. I don't know. It's tough, guys. This is what we're doing. We're doing it live, but sometimes I guess we lose the one precious gem we need, and that's Wi-Fi. Guys, this is episode 246. We have Tito Santana joining us today, Hall of Famer, Cooter, Arriba. I don't know. Arriba. He's got a new book coming out. He's going to be sitting down with JB. Tito Santana is back. I think this is possibly a three-peat for Tito. I think we've had him on like once or twice before. I know he was on a WrestleMania special at one point. And I think we had him on before that, but maybe it's his second time, maybe it's his third time. This is 246 episodes in. You tend to lose track of who do you talk to out there. So, I can't remember, guys. I'm getting old. But Tito returns today nonetheless, guys. But we're coming off the Royal Rumble. I think possibly one of the best Royal Rumbles in the past, decade or so. I enjoyed it. Guys, did you have fun watching the Rumble? I mean, I was happy who won it. Nothing bothered me. I think the one little minute thing was Matt Riddle was thrown out after like a minute or something like that. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed what they did with it and how they used Brock. I know a lot of people were complaining, but I don't know. I thought it worked. Did you guys enjoy it? I enjoyed it.
I don't think you got any complaints from me. I like the concept of Brock. I thought the card itself, I thought it was one of the best Rumbles I've seen in years. I mean, with the exception of the SmackDown Women's title match, I thought it was a great card. I've stressed on this show a bunch of times how I think Bianca Belair is an amazing athlete, but she never really does anything for me. However, watching her performance in this Rumble, now she won me over as a fan because she just dominated. And I think Vince McMahon wants that girl moved up to the main roster as soon as possible. She put on a performance. She's definitely with the MVP of the night.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought the Rumble was great. I loved the pacing of it. It was just it's definitely one of the best ones in a long time. And the fans can't complain, even though they complained about Charlotte winning. They can't complain because the men's Rumble, Drew McIntyre won. And
they still complain, Mike. They still complained.
Oh, Brock was too dominant. How are you supposed to build a guy when that's how this works? You get a lot of heat on Brock. Get as much heat on him as you can. And then when the moment happens, the pop was fucking amazing for Drew McIntyre.
Yep.
I love the Rumble from beginning to end. There's one thing that bothered me. I didn't really mind the SmackDown Women's title. I'm going to say I didn't like the Raw Women's title match. The match itself was great. Hated the finish. Where does Asuka go from here? I think they should have gave her the nod or at least let her win somehow. Maybe a DQ win. Something. Just to either keep this rivalry going or, keep some heat on her somehow. She just lost clean, and it was just a shit ending to me. Yeah. But in other news, Credo.
Is the elephant in the room?
There's an elephant in the room. I am, once again, a WWE Network subscriber.
Well. Have the tables have turned. It's the brand new year. Hook, line, and sinker. Just when you thought he was out, they pulled him back in.
So I want to say this because of course, I tried to do the streams, and there were 4 streams, and one of them had no fucking sound. And then the other one, like, I couldn't make the video full screen so I could broadcast it to my TV. I'm like, I'm not watching this. I said, fuck this. And you know what really made me pull out my credit card?
What's that?
I swear to you, it's Brock Lesnar. It was like, what are they going to do? Who's going to be the guy to throw him out?
Yeah.
And just the possibilities of what I saw and some of the interactions that we got with Brock were just awesome. I don't know anybody who wasn't like, oh shit, the second Keith Lee came out.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people talked about this too, because I think people are like that moment made Keith Lee, right?
Yes.
Like putting him up against Brock legitimized Keith Lee, and a lot of people are like, oh, Keith Lee was made before that. Yeah, he was good before that, but putting him up against one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling right there and then, that just legitimized who he is as Keith Lee. You know what I mean? Like, that's just putting him one-on-one like that, boom, stars made kind of a thing. So it's moments like that I love the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Like the little face-offs, little show-offs. And talk about other people that were made. You mentioned Bianca Belair, Drew McIntyre. I mean, when, like you said, all that heat that was built up from Brock, eliminating everybody, to that moment when Drew eliminated him. Perfect. And then even at that moment, it wasn't 100% that Drew was even going to win the Royal Rumble towards the end. So
great storytelling too.
Yeah, and it was and I know people that watched it like 3 or 4 times already, and every time they still love it. So I've only watched it once. I still got to watch it again. But Cooter, going back, the elephant in the room, the return of Edge. I mean, that's the biggest news story I think coming out of this, and it's so surprising to me as a wrestling fan, because I can't remember a time in my life, even before Daniel Bryan, to where somebody retired and then they came back like 9-10 years later, like Edge, if you will. Daniel Bryan was only out probably a year or something like that. Edge was gone for just about 9 years.
The only person I could think of was Shawn Michaels, and I think that was 5.
Yeah, so
5
I
years.
mean, I'm interested. I want to see the behind the scenes show. I want to hear what happened, what he had done, what can he do, what can he do. Like, I want to know everything about this moment, because it was a big deal. Like, I remember his last WrestleMania match was against Del Rio, whatever WrestleMania it was. He beat him, and then he came back on Raw the next night and then said he had to quit, kind of a thing. So
yeah,
I'm kind of intrigued. I heard he did sign a 3-year deal with WWE and was also in talks with AEW. That could be a little interwebs thing, but from what I heard, he was still in talks with a lot of people. So it's one of those things to where, WWE doesn't want to pull the gun. They want to be very careful, but at the same time, that's a big name to lose to a competitor. So letting him do what he wants here is good. And I think it's, from what I understand, it's going to be like a contract to where he'll wrestle at big shows and make special appearances. It's not like full-time on the road, so, which is rightfully so. I mean, you don't want to waste him for what he's doing. So, I don't know. I'm excited.
I think him, you mentioned the AEW thing, and that was an interwebs rumor. You heard it on the interwebs, and that. I think either way, regardless of how much money AEW was going to throw at him, I think his smart decision was to go back to WWE for one reason, in my opinion, is because he knows the guys there. He can trust the guys there, especially with that neck injury that he had. Those guys will work with him. I mean, a guy like Randy Orton, who that's going to be his WrestleMania match. That's a guy who I know for sure he can trust going in the ring and having a one-on-one match with him.
And protect his ass.
And protect him, yeah. You go to AEW, he doesn't know half of the talent there. He doesn't know how they're going to take care of him in the ring. So I think going to the WWE is the best move for him. And, we talked about how great that Rumble is, and we're just now getting into Edge. So that's how great the Rumble was, the fact that we haven't gotten to Edge until now. And that Edge pop was amazing. But how much did the WWE drop the ball?
Dude.
The first spear in 9 years.
So I come from a video background. I just really want to take a minute to describe this. So you have a director in the truck, right? They're looking at 20 different cameras, and they keep trying to fucking find the next the Undertaker shocked face guy. Stop. This is a guy that's coming back after 9 years. Fucking keep the camera on him. You don't need to see the fans. You can edit the fans in later. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to just show him. Like, people want to see him. They don't care about little Jimmy over there looking, not even knowing who the hell this is because it's been 9 years. But that was so bad, and it's like, man, somebody dropped the ball big time because it was like, come on, you knew this was happening. It's a fucking scripted show, you know. Like I'm sure they had on a list that said he will his first spear or something like that. Like, don't miss it, and they missed it. But man, from the video perspective, it's like, come on, you guys should have just kept that camera on him for the entire time.
I gotta say that was probably one of the loudest pops I've ever heard for a Rumble return. I tried thinking of times where we had some massive fucking pops. One of them was Chris Jericho coming in a return. Another one I think was the Kevin Nash pop in Boston, which was huge. AJ Styles' debut. John Cena returning at the Garden. Don't even compare to the amount of fucking screaming and yelling that we heard on Sunday for the return of Edge. That was just incredible. And think of it this way. He's 46 years old, right?
Wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
And I think, Jericho was 49?
Hmm.
All right. Now, granted, a lot can happen in 3 years, but how is Edge in that incredible fucking shape?
Yeah.
And Chris Jericho looks like, he's just been partying and eating pigs in a blanket and drinking.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Yeah, a little too much of the bubbly. Alcohol has calories, believe me. I can tell you.
Was that an open air stadium? It was a baseball stadium, right? Or was it like a dome?
I think the dome was open too.
I was going to say,
it's funny.
It would probably been even louder if it was open or closed.
They were in Minute Maid Park in Houston.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys follow the controversy that's going on with the Houston Astros, how they've been cheating for the past couple of years. And I was just waiting for someone like Jerry the King Lawler to reference that, or somebody to reference the fact that they were cheating. But I think I'm sure someone in the Houston Astros organization mentioned it to the WWE to please not mention this to them right now.
Don't bring it up.
I was just waiting for it.
So let me ask you guys this. What made the men's Rumble match for you? What was the best part of it?
I got worried. I was very worried in the beginning with the whole Brock thing because I'm like, are they really going to do this to the very end, if you will? So I wasn't worried. I mean, I knew there had to be a big moment. I'll tell you what. People complain about Brock, but man, he worked like a magician out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that progression of him just getting progressively tired, and no, it's not like, oh, he's old or he's whatever. The dude is like wrestling 10 different people or 11, 12, whatever different people. So like you're progressively going to get tired and whatnot. And it worked great, getting progressively tired or whatnot and sweating. And it's like, it's a task or whatever. So I think it was the 2 points of it, eliminating Brock and then Drew eliminating Roman. Just those 2 key points, I think, are what made it to solidify Drew as another top face in the company.
Mike?
I really like the Rumble this year, and I'm going to kind of go off what I think you're going to go off with was the storytelling with Brock. I think the build-up. A lot of people were complaining about it, how like, oh, he's just dominating and throwing guys out here, throwing guys out there. He's the part-time guy doing this. But I think this year the Rumble had a story to it.
Yes.
And they ended the story, I think Drew McIntyre, what number was he? Number 17, I want to say?
I think so, yeah.
Around that number. And it's good they didn't do that the entire Rumble. And I think they knew the pace of that Rumble would have probably gotten a little dragged out if they just kept doing that, because you want to see that image of like 10 guys in the ring at the same time. That's what the Rumble is. But I think they did a great job building up Brock, making him unstoppable. I really like the interaction with Shelton Benjamin. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was
a lot of people don't know the history with them, but I thought it was great.
I mean, there was just so many moments that made Brock so impressive. The coming out of the 3-on-1 situation with was it Kofi and Big E and Rey Mysterio?
Yep.
That was a great spot. The him and Keith Lee face down was great, and then when Braun came out, and then the other two big men went at it, and that's how Brock always seemed to find a way to overcome, and it was really, really good. Dude, I don't know anybody who wasn't laughing their ass off at him dancing to MVP's. Yo, every time Brock, there's at least one GIF that comes out every fucking pay-per-view, and that was the greatest one to me. But honestly, to me, what made that story so great was after Drew McIntyre eliminated him, he kept staring him down.
Yes.
He kept going over there like, yeah, I want you to look at me. And he just kept staring him down. Then he'd go beat the shit out of somebody. He threw somebody else out and went right back over to stare down Brock.
That's a great thing.
Great. That's why just masterful. We haven't had a Rumble like this in years. And I was so glad that I pulled out the credit card. The code, I like to call it.
There you go. And even if you didn't, I think, just hearing that would have gotten you back to watching it again. I'll tell you, I mentioned it briefly, Brock, he's not given enough credit because, he's been given some crappy matches to where it's just Suplex City, right? They just killed that forever, right? To where every match was Suplex City, and then that was the finish. But look at what he did with like 12, 10, whatever different guys, all those different variations of what he did and how he eliminated people. He's still a great worker. You know what I mean?
He made 2 guys on that pay-per-view.
Yes.
Easily, if not more.
So now you know why he has that strap on. But you know why he has that belt on. So I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, love him or hate him, you got to give Brock credit because I don't think anybody else could have pulled off that kind of performance of going through all those guys in the beginning of the Rumble. So. With that said, you did bring up MVP, and okay, we got a little bit of an MVP surprise, but holy shit, that Raw appearance, man, he was so deflated. He was such a dud. I think he just posted today on Twitter or on social media that was his last WWE match. He just looked like he was going in slow motion. He wasn't an MVP. He was like the left
wasn't
bench
he retired?
warmer.
Didn't he retire? Because I remember
he's still wrestling.
Off and on.
I know he was doing MLW for a little while, but I heard he had retired, and then
he was doing Lucha Underground. I want to say.
No, I read somewhere he had like retired and opened up like a karate studio or some shit like that. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
You might be thinking of somebody else.
Something about teaching kids or some shit. I don't remember what the fuck it was.
I was worried because I thought he was like returning for like good, and I'm like, after that match, man.
You know what they need to do? And it was brilliant in TNA. I think they need to bring MVP in to be Bobby Lashley's mouthpiece. Because when they had them two paired up in TNA, it was amazing. Like, Bobby Lashley was at his best. MVP was a great mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley. And I think they need to bring that to the WWE if, he's going to be sticking around and not doing in-ring action, but doing like a managerial role.
For sure.
I think that would be best for Bobby Lashley if he's going to stay that heel role.
I always love the dynamic between Bobby and Leo, but I'm glad Leo is off of that kick. Yeah. And he's actually working and actually wrestling because that's his forte. Yeah. And he's doing incredible things in NXT, but... we want to talk about the Women's Rumble a little bit?
Well, so at the end of the day, Cooter, we got to come out with a shirt, man. We got to have the shirt say "called it," because I mean, you called it. You had the Charlotte winning on it, and I hear people complaining like, "Oh, Charlotte again." But I'll tell you what, man. From last year's Rumble, from last year's Mania, I think from last year's Mania on. She's been putting people over left and right, I think, for the past year. Yes, she's had the championship for a while, but at the same time, I feel like she's also been trying to put over other girls to where they might not have been rising to the top or as they should have been, but I don't know. I think she's jobbed out enough, and she's one of their biggest names, especially with the accolades of her career. The Rumble was inevitable, right?
I said that last week. I mean, you had her dad win a Rumble, and you got to pat her stats. She's the first ballot Hall of Famer now. Let's be honest. Just her resume now speaks for itself. The matches that she's had, and she doesn't put anybody over. She's put over so many fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, didn't she put over Becky? How the fuck did Becky get that belt? Somebody had to drop the belt to her. I'm pretty sure it was Charlotte.
No, it was Ronda that dropped the belt, but Ronda or Charlotte was in that match.
No. The first time.
The first time.
Didn't
Which
she have
one?
the SmackDown title before she lost it in that fucking ladder match?
No.
She won it from who?
No.
Yes.
She didn't pin. I know where you're going at this, but Charlotte did have the SmackDown title, but she didn't pin Charlotte.
Let's try not to remember it. We'll have to Google it later.
Either way. How do you win a title, Mike? By pinfall or submission?
And you're talking about the triple threat match at Mania, right?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know where you're. I don't know which match
prior to that ladder match where Asuka won the fucking belt. That's how. Didn't Becky win it at SummerSlam or something like that?
No, it wasn't. She lost at SummerSlam.
Let's not argue
but then
about
she
it.
won. No, we're not arguing. She lost at SummerSlam. That was the heel turn, and I think the next pay-per-view was.
Google
whatever.
it.
What I'm trying to make is fucking Charlotte Flair has done her fair share of winning titles, winning matches, and getting other people over and putting them over as well. So that's the point I'm trying to make. And Becky is a classic example of that. She gave birth to the man. That program gave birth to the man.
And with that coming up too, so she teased. She hasn't decided who she wants to win, but on the interwebs, right, Mike? The word going around is that she's probably might challenge for the NXT championship. Notice I left women's out of there because that's not a thing anymore. But I think that'll be a great match. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte. I mean, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, she was supposed to be on NXT this week, and I didn't hear anything about it, so she wasn't there.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you something. I don't think Rhea Ripley is ready for somebody like Charlotte Flair.
No.
I really don't think so. I really feel like as much steam as she's got behind her, she has some growing to do with promo skills. Just little things. She's just not on that Charlotte Flair level yet. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe a match against her might get her up there. But I've typically always felt like if you want to wrestle somebody on that level, you need to get to that level first.
Well, either way,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Either way, I mean, I don't mind. I didn't mind Charlotte. It's fine. I think who else would have won? Who else would have won that? I mean, Sasha Banks is out injured again, so she wasn't even nowhere to be seen. Kelly Took her spot, I believe. So, one thing people are shitting on again is the whole Santina Marella or whatever his name was about doing. I laughed. I thought it was hilarious.
I did too. Because I was surprised they didn't do it in the first Rumble.
Yeah, I know. So I laughed. I thought it was hilarious. The face down with Beth Phoenix and all that too, who's by the way a beast for cracking her head open and still going, just for that moment, because I guess they had her into that moment at the end. But is it like a step back? There's no more Divas Revolution when you throw Santina. Is it too much joking on the women, or I don't know? It was comedy for me. I'm not gonna nitpick it that much.
Listen, it's 2020, Credo. You don't know how Santino may or may not identify. Who are you to judge? Who are you?
Non-binary Santino.
That's
was
correct.
In the match. But no, man, I don't want to nitpick about it. I think the Rumble was great, but at the end of the day, guys, who are the people surprises that didn't happen? I mean, everybody, as soon as CM Punk came back on the Fox, they're like, oh, he's got to be in the Rumble now. He's got to wrestle again. No, I mean...
We knew damn well that wasn't happening.
I know, it's like wishful mark thinking, but at the same time, no Punk. I mean, it's not the end of the world because it was still a great Rumble minus him. And you couldn't have Edge return and have CM Punk return. Like
exactly. I think that was the thing.
You're taking too many things away.
I think he respects the fact that he probably was I don't know, maybe he wasn't, but maybe he was in the know. And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who wants to step on somebody else's fucking, coattails like that. Because I just remember him talking in the podcast that came out on that Thanksgiving where as much as he wanted to be the main event, he knew it was Daniel Bryan's year, and that in his final Rumble where he left, he said it was definitely. he just doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think he's just waiting for his spot where it's going to be like, hey, this is going to be the place. This is going to be the time. And I don't think that comeback would have been as impactful. And that pop wouldn't have been as good because people were just so overwhelmed with the Edge return.
Yeah, and I mean, the Rumble is like the beginning of the year. I said it last year for me. It's like that's when the ball drops, right? It's the beginning of the year for me in the wrestling world, the road to WrestleMania. But with some names like, okay, Punk was wishful thinking, but also Nia Jax, regardless of what we think about her, didn't, enter the Rumble. So she didn't return. She's either just still injured or whatever. And even like a Ruby Riott, no Undertaker, no Sting, even though Undertaker and Sting, I think, are booked for Saudi Arabia shows, but they can't put them on the main shows. But so, I mean, some big names didn't come back. Are they still injured? And it's like, my whole point about this is that we didn't see these names. I think that's the point. That's the place where you want to put all these names to come back. And since they didn't come back, are they not coming back till after Mania kind of thing? Do they miss it this year? So.
Well, you think about last year. Undertaker didn't come back at Mania this year.
No,
he came back on the Raw afterwards and beat up on Elias.
Yep.
And we thought that was going to be a program, and it turned into fucking Undertaker versus Goldberg.
Man. But I think we can't have 20 surprises in the Rumble. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that Edge surprise was it. That's all he needed was that big one. MVP kind of looked like nothing compared to what Edge's return was. So, I mean, you had little things like that. But I think we can all agree, which is great, is that it was one of the best Rumbles, I think, in a long time. It's probably one of my favorite Rumbles. I think if I want to go back and watch
At least
Rumble,
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, if I want to go back and watch a Rumble next year to like pump myself up, this is one of the ones I'm watching before next year's Rumble kind of thing. So, but with all this Brock talk, guys, we got to mention this now. Before the Rumble match even happened, it was going around online that Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar had some words backstage. And I mean, this is all hearsay. We don't really know. I don't know. We weren't back there, but it's just what people say on the interwebs. Mike, do you kind of have what they were saying? What happened with this? Because man,
Matt Riddle he's a national treasure.
That's
for the United States.
I think he just smokes a lot of fucking weed.
He does. I think he smoked himself retarded. I really do. Because he just has that tendency to he just likes to call out legends and call out guys. I don't even think he does it just to get himself over. I think that's just Matt Riddle. I mean, if you watched the Ultimate Fighter, that's just who he was. Just calling dudes out left and right. He had the beef with Goldberg, but for years, and this was before the WWE, he would always call out Brock Lesnar. And we'd always say that Lesnar fears Riddle. He had a T-shirt that said Lesnar fears Riddle. And when he got to the WWE, for years, he would always post this stuff about how one day him and Brock are going to meet. One day. He would just go on and on for... I mean, this has been for years, guys. And then finally, I think Brock caught wind of this after God knows how many years. And backstage, they had an encounter. And Brock went right to him and said, and I quote, and this actually, I don't want to quote, but this is sort of what he said, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but he said, "You need to keep my name out of your mouth and stop tagging me in this shit because we will never work together," or something along those lines.
Never work together ever.
Ever. And then I guess Matt tried to speak to him. And then Brock told him to go fuck off.
Now, I don't, I'm a big guy, and not too many people threaten me in a way. But I'll tell you what, man, I would not be trying to fucking start shit with Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean?
The worst part.
Oh my gosh.
Worst part is Matt is still going on Twitter.
He came back with the whole video. Yep.
Yeah, that night. I think, and this is after his Rumble appearance, he posted a picture of some action figures of him, Brock, and Paul.
He's such an asshole.
And I have to find this tweet, and I have to read it to you. I guess it doesn't. I have to read the tweet what he said.
You can find it, but it's like with Riddle, man, I think the funniest part about this to me is that I feel like Brock does not look at social media. He doesn't give a shit about tweets. He doesn't give a shit about Facebook. He's not on Instagram. And so I feel like this was like Paul Heyman being like, listen, this Riddle guy is saying all this shit or something. I don't know. Do you think somebody was egging him on?
What, egging Riddle on?
Or Brock, like somebody told Brock, to where I feel like it had to be Paul Heyman.
I'll be honest with you. There's nothing about that match that interests me anyway. Like, Matt Riddle is a good up-and-comer. I don't ever see him being on a level high enough to where he's going to be in a one-on-one encounter with one of the best ever. I'm sorry. Because as much as people crap on Brock, he really is one of the best ever. Because when it's time to get other people over, there's nobody better than him. You know why? Because he's a dominant suplex city and a fucking whore for the win all the time. That's why when he does put somebody over, it means so fucking much. I don't ever see Riddle ever being on that level. And I love him. I think he's entertaining. I think him and Pete Dunne and that fucking Dusty Rhodes Classic was awesome. I think they were a great team, and they were just fun to watch together. Yes, on NXT in a tag tournament. Not in a main event against Brock fucking Lesnar. Stop it.
So I sent you guys the tweet, and I'm going to read it. So it's 3 action figures.
I was going to say, you got to set it up like that.
Figure. One is Matt Riddle, who, for some reason, Matt Riddle action figure seems taller than Brock, if you look at this picture. And then there's Brock. And then it says, only one person can retire Brock Lesnar. Only one person can end his career. And that person is going to be me, Matt Riddle. It's like after he just like almost got his head. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I can't underestimate Riddle because Riddle is a great fighter too. That'd be interesting to see.
No, it wouldn't.
It would. I would pay money to see him fight.
Why? To see him fight who?
Lesnar.
Oh, stop it.
So I mean,
listen, I'm not gonna be that guy who rides on fucking Lesnar's dick when it comes to fucking. Because you know how I feel about his UFC career as a heavyweight. But,
glass jaw.
Dude, fuck a glass jaw. He outweighs the man by 100 pounds, if not more.
I mean, that's why I'd be interested to see. Because I want to see how Matt Riddle can get around that.
Good luck.
So, I mean, Matt Riddle, they're definitely high on him, and not figuratively speaking.
Matt
I mean,
Riddle is high.
But I mean, he won the Dusty Classic tournament with Pete Dunne. But after this whole backstage thing, and then he enters the Rumble, and they use him in like a minute. I mean, Keith Lee had an awesome spotlight. I think, wasn't Pete Dunne in the Rumble last year or something like that? I could be wrong. Yep. But so, I mean, like, I feel like either somebody just hates him on the main thing, which could be a Kevin Dunn, which we could throw out there. But it's like they either just don't know about some of these NXT guys, or they don't know how to use them. But I mean, if they're so high on Matt Riddle, why would they use him in such a silly, he had like a minute, I think, and then he was tossed out, and I'm like, really?
Was Lesnar already gone when he was in?
Lesnar was gone, yeah. So they never were face to face. So I'm like, is this because of that backstage moment that they just say fuck it, get him out in a minute, or was it like this was planned? Which someone said it was planned all along, but it's like if you're so high on him, why are you wasting him in a minute? Let him stay in there for a few minutes, a few more minutes.
Well,
it's just weird.
If you had him, poised for a face-off with Lesnar, and Lesnar didn't want to fucking do it and said change it. Yeah. Well, then what are you supposed to do with him? Rewrite. Yeah. Sorry.
How many rewrites happened in that backstage area? Millions. But let me ask you guys a question. Cooter, you might have seen this. Credo said you didn't. Worlds collide.
Yes.
Okay. The Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne interview. That was just fantastic. And the reason why, and if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, because they did an interview with, I forgot that name of the tag team.
Grizzled Young Veterans.
Grizzled Young Vets. And Matt Riddle was the comedy guy, and then Pete Dunne had the serious face. And then the first words that come out of Pete Dunne's mouth is, "If I could be blunt for a moment." And then the whole crowd went nuts, and the look on Riddle's face was just priceless.
It really was.
Every sentence that Pete Dunne said was a good. The way he worded it was as if he was referencing marijuana smoking, and it was just priceless. Oh my god!
How Riddle's gonna smoke you?
Yeah.
Oh my god! But that whole card was great.
Yep.
I mean, what you had Balor and Dragunov, which was a nice opener. I didn't see the Mia Yim match. Did that air? Was that good?
Oh, I think that was a pre-show match.
She was against was that Kaylee Ray or whatever her name is?
I have to go. I don't think it was on the main card.
All right, and then there was Mustache Mountain and DIY was amazing. That was some good storytelling in there. But I mean, of course, Walter. Why is Walter not in the Royal Rumble with the amazing night that he had at Worlds Collide the night before?
You know what they could have done? Because you had, and they planned this out at the Rumble where you had Lesnar was in the ring by himself, and then Keith Lee comes out.
Right.
And then right after him, Braun Strowman came out.
Been good for Walter.
The next guy should have been Walter.
Yeah.
You had 4 big men in that ring at the same time.
Man.
Or at least have him come right out and be the next guy after he got rid of the 2 big guys. Because it's like, all right, yep, all the beef is out of the ring. Oh, wait, no, there's one more. Because Walter's a big fucking dude, bro.
Yep.
I mean, he's really big. Credo, you remember running into him.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, shit. Like, dude, TV doesn't do him justice. He's a big motherfucker, dude.
Well, going back to the interwebs, I love reading the dirt sheets. I can't help it. I mean, I just like to see what news is going on, what's happening. And I'll tell you what, this is, like I said, it's from the interwebs. But also, it was Aleister Black was also poised to win the Royal Rumble. And Aleister Black and Andrade are 2 guys that are high on the list for mega pushes, if you will. And so going back to the whole Andrade suspension thing, to where it was kind of weird that they put him in a match and then had him like beat up at the end, and they like kind of wrote him off for a little bit, as opposed to don't show up on TV, we're just going to announce this online and you're suspended for 30 days kind of a thing. So they actually set him up with an injury angle to make more sense to why he's out. So I mean, it only goes to show that they definitely love Andrade and they're definitely going to use him for something. But I wonder what he's suspended for. What do you think Andrade could be using that he'd be suspended for?
Well, with all those, Snapchat and Instagram videos, maybe it was a tainted, supplement, or a tainted Viagra. What was the one that the middleweight?
Anderson Silva.
Yes. What didn't he say it was like a tainted Viagra?
It was a tainted. He didn't say specifically Viagra, but it was a tainted ED pill.
Yes.
It wasn't Blue Chew.
Poor Andrade.
That you know of anyway, yeah.
He'll be back in 30 days, so I mean, it's not that big of a deal. He's still got 70-something days or less till WrestleMania, so we are on the road to WrestleMania regardless. It's happening, guys. But right now, we have a WWE Hall of Famer joining us with JB. We have Tito Santana.
Arriba!
All right. Welcome back to another wrestling podcast. Joining us right now is a multi-time champion, a multi-time Hall of Famer. He is the one, the only, Tito Santana. Mr. Santana, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, we want to get right into it. There is an amazing new book called Don't Call Me Chico. And I just wanted to see if you could kind of give us a little bit of history about why you decided to write this book. You'd already written one, a smaller autobiography, but why was now the time to put this one out?
Well, the first one that came out, it came out with a lot of promise, but the company that published the book went bankrupt. So it really didn't go anywhere. There was only a few copies that were out there, so nothing really ever happened. So it kind of left me with a bad taste, because the the company just gave me the runaround, and before you know it, they closed the doors and nothing ever happened. I had a bad taste, and Kenny kept, talking to me about it, and he kept telling me what a good opportunity it was, and finally he convinced me, and I said, okay, let's do it, and it took us about a year and a half, and I think we put together a pretty good book. It starts from the history of me growing up, probably until now.
How does that feel to kind of be not, I don't want to say in the passenger seat, but you're kind of going back from, like you said, the beginning till now, and your career was full of just so many exciting things, and it was such an amazing career. So how did that feel to kind of go back and look through all that? Was it therapeutic at all, or did it make you kind of cringe at points, or how did that feel?
No, it's therapeutic. A lot of the stuff that Kenny knew more about me than I did, and that's why I still enjoy going to Comic Cons and wrestling events where I get to meet the fans, and because they're always bringing back memories that they remember of me that was a big part in their life, and when they mention it, it brings back memories, and I did so much in my life that it's hard to remember everything, but when somebody brings it up, it comes right back to like it happened yesterday, and just to hear the wrestling fans talk about what a joy, and thanking me for the entertainment throughout the years. It doesn't get old to hear that from you wrestling fans, for them to admire the work. We led a very difficult life, traveling and being away from home, and the sacrifices that we made. When you realize how many people all over the world that you affected, it kind of makes it all worthwhile.
Now, we know today wrestling's changed quite a bit. It's more entertainment, and it's less about the wrestling like when you were wrestling. But something else that's also changed is in the 80s there were a lot of, I'll just say, like, stereotypical wrestlers. You had people from different countries, and they basically were just representing that country. So like the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov and all of those wrestlers. You came in with a Latino background, being a Hispanic wrestler. Did you feel that they were doing a disservice to you by giving you kind of a stereotypical thing, or did you feel that was okay?
No, I felt it was okay, because that was the value that Tito Santana brought to professional wrestling. I was a Hispanic. They billed me as being from Mexico because Vince Sr. wanted to hit the Hispanic market. In the United States, there was millions and millions of fans. Every major city, L.A., Chicago, Houston, New York. There's Hispanics from all over the world. So, they were billing me, to help draw the Hispanic fans, and God knows, the Hispanics all over the world are great wrestling fans, and I just felt I had a lot of pride to be Hispanic and to be representing, Hispanics from all over the world.
Absolutely, and we see if you look at the website where you pre-order this book, it's TitoSantana.com. You can see that there's a lot of wrestlers that have taken time to write in this book and to talk about what a career you've had, and some of those people, like Conan, for example. Has it ever been brought up about, or have you heard from any other Hispanic wrestlers that you were kind of that role model for them? Because before you, and correct me if I'm wrong, there probably weren't a lot of Hispanic wrestlers in the spotlight. So have any of the Hispanic wrestlers come to you over the years and say, wow, you really were such a role model for being in that spotlight?
Yes, I have. I guess because I had such of a positive background. People come up to me and tell me, I've never heard anything bad, about you, Tito. I remember in 2004 when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Eddie Guerrero came up and he was the world champion. And here's the world champion thanking me for opening up the doors for the Hispanics in the WWE. That really made me feel good. And Rey Mysterio, and you can just go down the line. The new wrestlers, whenever they see me, they, I guess I was the one that got big in the WWF back then, and I did have a pretty good name, and I did open some doors for and I was happy that I was the pioneer for the Hispanics, to see some of them be so successful after me.
Absolutely. And, you've been credited with a lot in the professional wrestling business. And, as you mentioned, you're a WWE Hall of Famer. And a lot of people have went on to say, a lot of wrestlers have went on to say how they would like to live the Tito Santana life. Just meaning that, as you mentioned, a lot of people say great things about you. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's been too many things ever bad said about Tito Santana. How do you... For wrestlers that are going through the business right now and are being tempted by other things or whatever, what's the best advice you can give somebody to lead that life to where you're not getting in trouble and you're paying your dues and you're being respectful? What's the key to success?
Well, the way I saw it, I was in front of television, hitting a lot of fans all over the world. It was pretty easy for me. I came from, the background that I came from, growing up as a migrant worker and working in the fields at a very young age. I realized, we had to work, $1 an hour. When I remember working in the fields, so we'd be out there all day for $8 a day. So when I started making money, I just couldn't see blowing my money on drugs and partying that much. My parents were divorced when I was a sophomore in college, and the family was very important to me, and there's no way that I would want, even though I was a sophomore in college, it was very painful for me to see what my mom went through. There's no way that I was going to have my kids go through the same thing that I went through. So, it was, family was very important to me for, forever.
Absolutely. Now,
and it doesn't, and we seem to think that it's going to last forever, and it doesn't last forever. Nothing lasts forever. The run is quick. So when you make some money, you better save it and take care of your family.
Now, I want to get back to this book that you're putting out now. As I mentioned, you can go to TitoSantana.com and pre-order it. And there's signed copies on there. There's unsigned copies on there. And I heard that there is a special right now. If you pre-order the book, you may even get a call from Santana Claus. Is that true?
Yes, I made that. We were going to cut the deadline for that, but as long as they ordered before December the 24th, they will be getting a call from Tito Santana, Santa Claus. It probably will come after Christmas, but anybody who pre-orders my book, the deadline is December 24th. I will be making a call because every fan that pre-orders the book is helping me out, and I appreciate my fans, and I'm going to keep my word to them.
Now, about this book, this is a much larger book. It's about 400 pages, I believe. What can fans expect from this book? If they pick up this book, what are some of the things they'll get to read about in this book?
Well, like I said, I chronological my life from a very young age, and how I got, it was my 8th grade coach who really helped me in my life. I talk about him. I could have gone, the wrong way and hanging out with the wrong people, and he got me involved in sports. And I came from a poor family. I ended up getting a football scholarship, and there's a bunch of angels that have been present in my life. For example, Tully Blanchard just happened to be the quarterback at West Texas State. We played together, me and him and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and they convinced me to give wrestling a shot. So I played professional football, and then after a couple of years, I decided to go into wrestling. So they're going to be able to see and feel and experience the life that we led on the road. It wasn't an easy life. Missing birthdays, missing anniversaries, missing. We were always entertaining on Thanksgiving Day, on New Year's Eve, on Christmas Day. Those were big days. So there was a lot of sacrifices that the people will be able to experience and feel, and pretty much we all went through the same thing. There's some happy moments, some ribbon that went on, and amongst wrestlers, and it's I don't think we missed very much. I think they're gonna see a lot of stuff. I don't write anything negative about anybody because we were a fraternity, and I respect everybody, and we all did our own thing, and to each their own. It's just so sad to me, that a lot of us at the time thought it was going to last forever, and the money was going to keep coming, and a lot of my friends did not plan and save, and it didn't last forever. And now that we've gotten older, I was very happy and lucky that I had a degree, and I've been teaching for 23 years. So I talk about all that in my book, and hopefully the fans enjoy.
Well, being a teacher for 23 years, it may be just as difficult as being a professional wrestler. I'm not for sure, but with the advent of the WWE Network and people being able to see you, some kids, younger kids, for the first time, like wrestling, watching the network. Have you had any of your school kids come up to you, and do they realize who you are? Do they realize the career you had before you got into teaching?
Yes, they do, because now all they have to go to, they're so good with computers, technology, they can just Google Tito Santana, and they have all kinds of matches. The network from the WWE has revived the legends' careers. I can't believe that fans are still talking about Tito Santana, and fans still come up and want an autograph from Tito Santana. And I retired in 1993, so. The network has been really good for us. I mean, there's some guys that are making a living, with weekend appearances that they make, and I'm happy for them. I myself enjoy doing a few, but I just don't like being on the road and being away from my family that much anymore. I still come out, but. Not as much as a lot of my friends that are out there, still making a living and total dependence on the business.
Well, I know you're really busy, and we want to get you out of here. But I'm curious. You mentioned in the book that you're going to be talking about some ribs. That's something for anybody who's listening to this. That ribs are pranks that were pulled on the wrestlers. We've heard the stories, a lot of stories about Owen Hart being a big prankster. But since your career spanned so many years, was there somebody else that was really, really good at pulling pranks? And how was that taken by the rest of the people in the locker room?
Well, there were so many guys. It was pretty hard to prove who was doing the ribbing. I was very lucky that nobody ever, ribbed me, and I guess I treated everybody with a lot of respect, and I always, got respect from the guys. But a lot of times, some of those ribs were not healthy. Guys would be had inhalers, and they would put different kind of gases that would almost kill some of those guys. When they would inhale that. Some guys that were cheap on the road. Mr. Fuji, we invited him over for dinner one time and cooked a dog meat, for them and didn't tell them about it, and some of them were harmless and some of them were meant to be, sending a message.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on. And just the last question that I have for you, you had such a memorable career, did so many of the greatest things, you were the first match at the very first WrestleMania. You wrestled 9 WrestleManias straight. You were multi-time champion. What do you think, when it's all said and done, your legacy in professional wrestling will be? What do you think that you'll most be remembered for?
Well, I think that I'm going to be remembered for somebody who was dependable, reliable, and somebody who every time he stepped into the ring, I gave it 100%. I went out there, entertained the people. I honestly felt so confident in the ring that I was a good worker and good entertainer in the ring, that they put me in a good spot. I was going to make it very difficult for anybody to follow my match, and we all felt the same way. Everybody was we had a lot of great bunch of guys that could work, that we had the same mentality. We were the pioneers. We wrestled before the big growth. We were wrestling in huge arenas with 1,000 people. Talk about a horrible feeling when there's 1,000 people in an arena who holds 20,000 people, and we were still working our butts off, and that's how we grew the business. We went out there and everybody on the card would give 100%, but I can guarantee you that nobody worked harder than I did.
Well, we want to thank you so much for your time. We hope you have a great holiday season, and be sure to go and check out TitoSantana.com. And also, I believe you have a Pro Wrestling Tees site as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. And I also have a Cameo. And my Cameo is been doing, amazingly good. And I'm so grateful for all the fans that are making different requests for me, day in and day out.
Thank you so much for coming on and joining us on another wrestling podcast.
Thank you so much. Arriba!
All right, once again, thanks to Tito Santana. Arriba. Guys, he was a guest with us, too, in Beacon not too long ago, too. About a year or two ago. No, probably like 3 years ago. I don't know what it was.
Wow, bro,
at Tito Santana's Taqueria, right in Beacon. It's still going strong. If you guys haven't heard about it, this whole place was named after Tito Santana. And who brought Tito Santana to Tito Santana's Taqueria? Another wrestling podcast. That's right. The first ever meet and greets at Tito Santana's Taqueria. Anyway, a little fun fact for you guys. We're on the road to WrestleMania. We could probably spend another 2 hours on predicting WrestleMania. But coming out of that Rumble, guys, who are you looking at now? Who are you looking forward to? Who you hot on right now?
I am hot on Shayna Baszler. I think for somebody who I thought was the drizzling shits when I first saw her in the Mae Young Classic, slowly but surely started to really turn me. And now she's probably one of my favorite women on the entire roster. And I think a program with her and maybe an Asuka would be incredible. Like, the mouth is foaming. Like I always said, I wanted to see Asuka and Ronda. I think this would be even better, just because as polished as Shayna has become because of her time in NXT. Just incredible.
And she had so many Rumble eliminations, too. I could have swore, that was my prediction, I thought Shayna was going to win it. And, the amount of the eliminations that they gave her, I was like, oh, she for sure is winning this. And I think the smartest thing they could do with her right now is build her up like Ronda Rousey, bring in her girls, And whenever Ronda does return, boom! Because I think she's gonna just head to the main roster after that. I mean, something has to be open for her for that. So I think the best thing they could do is build her up. That that she's friends with Ronda. She did, the Four Horsemen, yada yada yada. And then when Ronda does decide to come back, boom, you have something for her to go to. And I think that'd be the smartest thing for her to do right now is just get that association, cool by association or whatever, and to build her like that. But I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I think she's got
She's gone through the entire women's roster in NXT. It's time.
Yeah.
I mean, I love her in NXT, and I'm worried about what might happen to her on the main roster. But let's be honest, there's no fresh matchups for her down there. She went through everybody. So let's move on. Let's go to the retirement home on Raw and fucking have some shitty matches. You've earned them.
What about you, Mike? Who do you think? Who thinks?
Who do you think I'm riding on right now? Yeah. Honestly, I there's a couple of people. I'm gonna keep it short. But Drew McIntyre. I mean, I really like how they had that slow burn from turning him from a heel to a face, and then just the reaction he got when he eliminated Brock. It was just awesome. And then I don't know if you guys saw the video of when he won the Rumble, the video from Glasgow of all the fans that are watching at a bar.
Oh, no, I have to see that.
It's incredible. Like, all these fans are watching the Rumble at some bar in Glasgow, Scotland. And the second he eliminated Drew McIntyre, the place went nuts.
You mean Roman?
Or, sorry, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, when he eliminated Roman, the place went freaking nuts. So I want to see where they're going to go with this, and I hope they do what's right and build him as the next monster.
All right, well, I got a sleeper pick, guys. I'm picking out a sleeper. Now, I'll tell you what. Last year, it was Jinder Mahal's moment. This year, the chosen one was finally chosen. Next year, I know he hasn't been seen in a while, but I know it. I know that Heath Slater is in the gym. I know that he's working out. And next year, 2021, will be the year of Slater, baby. He's gonna come back jacked on the PEDs or whatever the hell he's. Oh my God!
PEBs. Do you hear this guy? He's gonna main event WrestleMania against your boy James Ellsworth, Credo.
Could you go back in time when the 3MB was a thing? And could you imagine someone saying, "Hey guys, I'm from the future, and Jinder Mahal's gonna be WWE champion. You're gonna fucking."
He wasn't even in the Rumble this year.
I know, and where's he been too? I feel like he's been injured or something happened to him too. But Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, poor Heath Slater. That's all I gotta say. Poor Heath Slater. There's still hope though. There's still hope. Just gotta hit that gym. I don't know, because. Maybe some roids, because Jinder Mahal, I know we had that natural comment. Could it be natural? I don't know.
Oh, come on, Credo. Stop it.
All right. So
why are you being such a hater?
I'm not. I'm saying Slater's next year's is year. Next year's Slater.
No, you're making the PED references to Jinder. Just because he had a back full of acne and whiteheads doesn't mean that he was on the gas, okay?
I gotta show you this video I found online once. It's a frog, and this frog gives birth through its back, and that's all I can remember is Jinder Mahal, and all you see is these little baby frogs coming out of the frog's back, and that's all I think is Jinder Mahal about that. Anyway, guys, girls, children of all ages, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us, tweet us at @WrestlingPod, tweet at Angry Cooter. Called it. He calls it all the time, guys. Minority Mike's out there. Got Credo. Find us, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com, the mothership for AWP, and we'll be back next week, right? Next week. We'll do this again next week.
And don't forget, don't tug your peckers, bitches.